Buenos días. Bienvenidos a la rueda de prensa del Premio Princesa de Asturias de la Concordia, que van a ofrecer a continuación Felicity Read, directora de comunicación de Mary's Mills, Amina Iddy Swedi, directora en Kenia, y Panji Chipson Kajani, director en Zambia. Recuerden que deben indicarnos que desean hacer una pregunta, les pasaremos el micrófono y tendrán que decir su nombre y el medio para el que trabajan. En primer lugar, la directora de comunicación, Felicity Read, les dirigirá unas palabras y a continuación abriremos el turno de preguntas. Gracias.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for attending. We are deeply honoured and very humbled to be here on behalf of Mary's Meals today and to accept this award from the Princess of Asturias Foundation. It means such a lot to us and our organisation. But before we go into the press conference, you know that Magnus MacFarlane-Barrow is not able to join us today, but I have a personal message from him that I would like to read out to start with. Magnus says, "I'm personally hugely disappointed and embarrassed that I've been unable to join you today due to a health issue which has prevented me travelling, but which is no concern for alarm. Whilst I'm really sad not to be here in person, given this is the most incredible recognition of our work for hungry children and the amazing programme of events that I was looking forward to immensely, I am just one member of an amazing team, and I'm reassured by the fact that Mary's Meals is very well represented by some of our most amazing leaders who work tirelessly so that millions of the world's children might be fed and gain an education. All of us are deeply grateful and very honoured on behalf of the children we serve, and we want to thank everyone at the Princess Asturias Foundation for this amazing award." Thank you.
Muchas gracias. Abrimos entonces el turno de preguntas.
Hola, buenos días. Jaime Martín de la agencia EFE. Creo que ya están presentes en 19 países, en países como Líbano, Yemen o Siria, ¿no? ¿Se plantean extender o dar ayuda de emergencia en la Franja de Gaza ante el conflicto abierto entre Hamas y el Estado israelí?
That's a really interesting question. Currently, we don't have any plans to expand into those areas. As you say, we do work in Lebanon and Syria and have continued to work particularly in Syria under very difficult conditions, for example, the earthquake earlier this year. And we are very well practiced in dealing with difficult and challenging situations. We will keep monitoring the situation, but Mary's Meals globally always goes to the areas of greatest need, so we will continue to assess that.
Gracias. Siguiente pregunta.
Volviendo sobre el mismo asunto, ustedes hacen también ayudas de emergencia en determinadas situaciones. En este caso no se baraja tampoco esa posibilidad.
Sorry, does the question relate to emergency aid for Palestine?
Ayuda de emergencia a Palestina.
Yes, currently, as I said, we don't have any plans to develop our work in that part of the world, but we will continue to monitor it and we will assess that on a continual basis.
Siguiente pregunta, por favor. Quizá Amina y Panji nos puedan contar cuáles son los retos a los que se enfrentan en este momento en sus respectivos países.
Thank you very much, everyone who is here. And just to add on Felicity's words, we are very honored and humbled to be here. School feeding is a complex undertaking, but in Mary's Meals, we believe in simplicity of things because that is what allows us to reach the most vulnerable children. But this is not to say there are no challenges. As you are all aware, there has been global food inflation. And what that means is that every time we up our game in the efforts of resource mobilization, there are also food prices going up. And that in itself is a challenge, because what it means is that it gives us a little bit of a pressure to keep our promise to the children, but we are trying our best.
Thank you very much. I will add on to my colleagues to say first that I'm very humbled to be here on behalf of the Mary's Mills family, the children we work for, and the communities we work with. Just as my colleague Panji has said, we experience many challenges as an organization or charity that works in the most world poorest communities. He has highlighted a very important topic about high inflation when it comes to the food. But just to add on that, we face challenges day in, day out because of the context we are working in. Just to give an example, in Kenya, we work in one of the most vulnerable counties called Turkana, which has been marginalized for many, many years. And it suffers adverse effects of, hunger, poverty. The terrain is very difficult. So as Mary's Mills, we take pride in working on those areas, and we recognize these challenges, but we put the child at the center of everything that we do. Thank you.
Gracias. Siguiente.
Sí, hola, buenos días de nuevo. Creo que ustedes barajaban la cifra de que podían dar de comer a un niño durante todo un año por 22 euros o dólares, ahora mismo no recuerdo. Me gustaría saber si, hablaban ustedes ahora mismo de la escalada de precios de la crisis de alimentos, si es posible mantener esa cifra, cómo está impactando en la organización esta escalada de precios.
Well, it's clear that inflation does impact on our work, and we constantly have to review how we are sourcing our food in order to be able to source the best quality food and ingredients, ideally locally at the best possible price. And it's by buying in bulk and negotiating the best deals that we are able to keep that number low. The other element of keeping that number low is the fact that our model is based on volunteers and is embedded in communities. So throughout the areas that we work, local communities own our programme. They're local school feeding committees, and there are volunteer committees of cooks who are committed to get up early every day and come to schools, light the fire under the cooking pot, and prepare the meals for their children. Their commitment is vital to our work, but it also means that the community has ownership of the programme and is as committed to it as we are. Panji has strong experience in terms of sourcing food and negotiating, so perhaps Panji, you'd like to talk through that as well.
Yeah, in Zambia, Malawi, Zimbabwe, and Kenya, as much as is practical, we try to source the food locally. So whilst in general there has been the inflation in food that I've talked about, we also understand that if we source the food locally, we cut out a lot of things. We cut out logistical costs, warehousing costs, because we are sourcing the food locally, and to be simple, we demand that the supplier delivers the food at the doorstep of the school, where the final user is. And that has helped us a lot in keeping the costs low and maintain the simplicity that we always want to have, and keep the promise of giving the food to the child on a daily basis in their place of education. Thank you.
Just coming back to the specific question in terms of cost per child, that is a figure that's reviewed annually. So the figure that we are working on, €22, is the figure that was the average cost per child for 2022. So we will be reviewing that, and there may well be adjustments that need to be made to that figure. But our commitment is remains very strong in terms of implementing a low-cost, high-impact program to the most marginalized and vulnerable children in some of the most difficult regions in the world.
Gracias. ¿Hay más preguntas? De nuevo la agencia F.
Sí, hola. Me gustaría saber si se han hablado de la pandemia también. Esta organización se nutre fundamentalmente de donaciones y trabaja con voluntarios. Me gustaría saber si se han visto afectados en el número de voluntarios, si se vio rebajada a raíz de la pandemia, si las donaciones se han visto también afectadas. ¿En qué situación se encuentra ahora mismo la organización?
Well, for Mary's Meals, the pandemic was a particularly challenging time, as it was for many organisations around the world. But in fact, we had an incredible response. Our volunteers, in terms of fundraising, worked harder than ever, and we were able to continue our feeding programmes and to adapt them where it was necessary. And where we did our adaptations in our programme countries, we again found that the commitment and support was unwavering. We were really so humbled and proud that the people that we work with have such passion and commitment for the work that they continue to deliver under difficult and challenging circumstances. And since then, we've been able to build on that commitment and are looking forward to developing our work even further.
Gracias. ¿Más preguntas?
Buenos días, soy Gonzalo de Radio Nacional aquí en Asturias. Me gustaría saber los países, a todos los que, la red que tenéis desplegada en todos los países del mundo, ahora mismo, ¿cuáles se ven afectados? Si habéis estado en algunos países donde vuestra labor finaliza en algún momento o nunca se da esa labor por finalizada. Gracias.
That's a really good question, and one of the things we say at Mary's Meals is that our commitment will last and we will be where feeding is required for as long as we're needed. But that situation is kept under constant review. So just because we're feeding in a place now doesn't mean to say that if the need levels change, that we would review that. And in fact, there is a recent experience in Kenya that my colleague Amina will be able to talk to that highlights how that constant review informs where we feed where the need is greatest.
Yeah, thank you very much for that question. I totally agree that sustainability should be a macro topic in all the areas that we work in, and especially as a charity that is focusing on the developing countries. Just to give an example of Kenya, we have been operating in Kenya since the 2007 post-election violence, where we had gotten into a region that had suffered the adverse effects of the post-election violence. So we've been supporting this region for more than 10 years. And the beauty about Mary's Meals is we anchor our program on community participation. So we do not just do it alone. We do it with the support of the community. So our work is to provide food at a place of education. But when it comes to things like providing the cooks, taking care of the feeding program, looking at the kitchen, the community members takes up. And also we have been keen on training the community in areas that we work in. So in this area where we got in after the post-election violence, after evaluating, as Felicity has said, because we do evaluation of the regions that we work in. After doing this, we saw that the community could take up the program because of the trainings that we've accorded them over the years. And recently, we were able to phase out from that region. And I'm happy to just report that as we speak right now, the community have taken the program and they're taking care of their children. But, all this has been anchored on that partnership that we have. So we partner with community, knowing that in future, when the situation gets better, they are the ones who are going to own this program at the end of the day. Thank you.
Maybe I should add a broader perspective to Amina's answer. Because we're talking long-term here, school feeding is a long-term strategy to poverty and hunger eradication. What Mary's Meals is doing is to help the world to help countries, to help local communities to build capacity for the next generation. So we are, as everyone else, in the quantum of human development. We help the child to come to school, to be in the school, to be attentive when education activities are being delivered. The hope is that this increases their chances of a better livelihood, which will translate to a better household, a better community, a better country, and in the fullness of time, we believe we might actually become redundant because everyone will have access to food. I thought I should add that one. Thank you very much.
Gracias. ¿Más preguntas?
Una típica pregunta que le harán siempre, ¿es posible acabar con la malnutrición infantil? ¿Se puede barajar algún horizonte? Y después me gustaría también si podrían darnos datos actualizados de cuántos niños están actualmente atendidos a través de su organización y cuántos voluntarios están trabajando en ella.
Thank you for that. That's the big question. We don't put a date on the end to child hunger. The UN included zero hunger as part of its Sustainable Development Goals and has set a date of 2030 for the eradication of global hunger. We hope and pray that that is the case, and we're working very hard to help deliver that. But it is an enormous challenge, and those challenges continue to evolve and change, and we have to adapt to meet those challenges. We currently feed 2.4 million children daily in their place of education, but we know that something like 67 million children are out of school because of poverty, and they need to be in school for the reasons that Panji has given, to give them the opportunity, their communities, their regions and their countries to be able to positively develop over the coming years. We have an army of volunteers around the world. It's very difficult to put a precise number on that. We know that we have tens of thousands of volunteer cooks in Africa, but we also have volunteers working tirelessly for Mary's Meals around the world in our national affiliate countries, where they're raising funds at a grassroots and corporate level to be able to fund our work. And they work equally as hard and are equally as dedicated and passionate.
Muchas gracias. ¿Hay más preguntas? Pues damos por finalizada la rueda de prensa. La siguiente será mañana a las 9:15 con Eliud Kipchoge, el corredor de maratón, ganador este año del Premio Princesa de Asturias de los Deportes. Gracias.